The following is a conversation with Paul Killion, a guitarist, an entrepreneur, and visionary of X-Gear guitar pedals. Paul talks about his journey from the East Coast to the West Coast, how to present yourself professionally in the music industry, and his travels abroad to China to develop and manufacture X-Gear pedals. Afterwards, we'll have an aftershow. For those just tuning in to Pepe and Ybra for the first time, I'm Pepe, aka Joanna Glass, and Ybra, aka A. Perez, is my bandmate, and we are professional musicians in a two-piece rock band called Glass Spirits. This podcast will have guests who are musicians and professionals in the music and entertainment business. They'll have music tips, discuss issues in the music industry, what inspires them, and their creative process. Our current schedule will be to publish each episode every week. We have all the episodes filmed and already in the can, so you'll definitely get an episode a week. If we get a positive response, we'll have a second season, so make sure you like, comment, rate, and review this podcast. The theme of this season is Voyager, because many of our guests have come from all over the world or they're transplants from across the country. And the voyage doesn't have to be physical, it can also be spiritual and emotional. We have some very quick announcements. We won't always have sponsors, but when we do, we'll read their messages at the beginning of the episode so that the conversation is not interrupted. Do you love to sing? Do you wish you could hit those higher notes with more ease or hold them longer? Do you wish your voice wouldn't get tired after belting? Do you wonder how you can step to the next level and get ready for your band's next gig or recording? So, if you're looking to improve your singing, then look no further than Valle Vocal Studios. Vocal coach Laura Valle has over 20 years' experience in the music industry as a performer, producer, and vocal instructor with a passion to figure out each individual vocal challenge. I called Laura 13 years ago and told her about my former background in music and my goals, that I wanted to improve my range and only had a limited amount of time to practice. Fortunately, she was very flexible and didn't enforce a rigid curriculum. She would listen to my voice, diagnose problems like a doctor, and, with practice, I immediately noticed smoother transitions between different ranges and tones. I am really fortunate to have found a teacher who is technical, flexible, and encourages creativity. 13 years later, I am more confident about my singing, especially in my band Glass Spirits, so I definitely recommend Laura S. Valle. You can find more information about the lessons at www.vallevocalstudios.com and call Laura for a phone consultation. Tell them that Pepe and Ybra sent you and get 50% off your first lesson. If you enjoy this podcast, subscribe on YouTube, give it 5 stars and a good review on Apple Podcast. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Or join our Patreon. Or visit our website, www.pepeandybra.com. Now, without further ado, here's our conversation with Paul Killion. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Pepe and Ybra. I am Pepe, aka Joanna Glass of the rock band Glass Spirits. Here I have with me a very special guest. He's so dear to me. He's a very talented musician, entrepreneur, and just overall great knowledgeable person in the music industry. His name is Paul Killion of X-Gear. Hi, Paul.
Hey, hi. Thank you so much for having me today. Appreciate that so much. It's wonderful to see you.
Yeah, it's always so good to see you, and I'm so glad we've kept in touch over the years. Just to let our audience know, we had met at NAMM 2018. Prior to NAMM, which is a music retailer convention in Anaheim, California. It happens in January, and it clogs up traffic. It's a huge ordeal. It's a great thing. And Jenny from Music had contacted me, asked if I can check out the X Gear pedals, and I went to NAM. I met Paul, and I checked out the Extreme Series pedals, and they were great. They sounded good, and I had made some demo videos on our Music Tips channel, and everyone was just so nice and friendly. Yeah, Paul, what do you have to say about those times? Do you recall them fondly?
Yeah, I do recall that. What was the year? Was it 20? It was 2018 or 2019?
Oh, you know what? I think no, oh yeah, I did meet you 2018.
Okay, yeah, so it's 2018. Yeah, because that's right. So we had two more NAMM shows after that. And then that was the first year we were actually down in the lower part of NAMM. We had a small booth down there, and we were just kind of getting started. Even though Music has been around for 15 years, it was my first year involved with them and also working with artists. So it was so exciting. It was such a great time. And we, even in our little booth, we made such a big sound and a big noise down there. And I remember meeting you, and you were walking around with the selfie cam going all around NAMM, and I was like, oh my God, we saw the videos later of you. And for people who don't know, NAMM is just this, it's like a big music store with celebrities walking around. It's really exciting. You can touch all your favorite musical gear. You see what's coming out new each year. You get the upfront of what to expect to see the next coming year as far as music products go. You might be walking down there and you might see a big music celebrity, someone you've been dying to meet, and you're actually able to walk up and say hello. And they have performances, and they have workshops and all kinds of things. It's a wonderful event. It's so sad right now weren't able to do it this past year because of the virus and things. But and really in relation to that, it really makes you realize how important human touch is, and how important it is for us to socialize and be around other people. Literally, NAMM is my place where I go every year to see people I haven't seen in years. I'll only see them at NAMM, and it's like our time to catch up, go have breakfast, go back to the hotel room, have some drinks, and have some fun, see shows at night. It's a wonderful experience. And that was our first year, my first year kind of hosting our booth, and you coming down and us meeting, and it was just such a great time an experience in the evolution of Music and X Gear and the current pedal lines and things like that. It was such a wonderful thing, and my whole goal with that was really to identify with people, try to help the artist and bring the artist out and associate ourselves with more artists. It was trying to convert the company more of a people company than a product company, and that's what that was my goal with that year, and still is to this time.
Yeah, I mean, even though you come across very professional and your products are high quality, you still have the artist or the person in mind. And I just want to take a little deep dive and how you got to this point. I mean, can you let our audience know, like, okay, what city were you born, and what was your musical journey until you got to NAMM?
I'm actually from Pennsylvania on the East Coast. Philadelphia would be more accurate at this point, but I'm from Philadelphia. I've been out in California for more time than I've actually been in Philadelphia, for over 25 years. But I came out a long time ago doing the rock and roll thing, going to be a rock star, that whole thing. I literally came out here with about $100 in my pocket, and, and I was homeless for a little while, to be honest. Not homeless that what like you picture the people of this day. I mean, I didn't have I needed to get a job, I needed to get a place to live, and all these things. And
wow.
Back then, people were much more nicer, I want to say. But I had some friends who were going to the Musicians Institute, to MI, and they took me in for a couple of nights. Then I got a job delivering music gear at SIR, And I didn't even have a California driver's license. I'm not even sure if they should have hired me, but they did. And I was driving around L.A. I was lost. I didn't know anything. Back then we didn't have phones. We had Thomas guides. It was this big book. Remember, they were this thick. You would open it up and you would find a page. So long story short, and I'm sure that's many people's stories in life. I was just really determined to stay out in California. I could have always called and got a plane ticket back to the East Coast, but I was determined to stay out here. So then years later, you do your thing. I have a wife, I have a daughter, life changes, things happen. Music is one of those things that just doesn't leave you, even though you try. I got into doing web development, online work, things like that. Took after many jobs, and every job I would take, I'd always end up becoming the manager at some point of that position or that place. So it was really interesting. So eventually, when I met the people with Eno, Jenny had contacted me also, and we had started talking, having conversations, and this and that. And I just always saw like a bigger picture of things in my mind, and I always wanted to do more and push for more. So initially, she was like, "Hey, if you want to try out one of these pedals, that'd be great. If you could go online and buy it, that would be great. You could tell us what you think about it and this and that." I said, "Okay, sure." So I bought the pedal and I did that, and I think I might have created a video for it. And that to me was like an investment. It wasn't even like a big deal. And I was already going to NAMM and buying the pedals anyway, and I was giving them. They were doing exchanges, and every year that I was going to NAMM, I'd go to their booth, and I'd go, "Man, you guys got such great equipment." But it was a little bit of culturally, it's a little different in China than it is in the U.S. So they had a hard time maybe talking or understanding culturally how things are a little bit different. So what I think I added to that was a little bit of a easier understanding of it and a communication kind of filter thing that helped them out. And I think they saw the value of that, and that was a good thing. So over time and talking more and more, I discussed bigger plans and bigger ideas and the idea for the new line of pedals and this and that. And at some point, they had made me the artist relations person. And then after I did that, so that's when we were signing a lot of people and putting people on the artist roster. And and what I was doing was basically use people I knew who I felt were really talented or ambitious. I would put them on and say, "Love you guys to be a part of this." I felt like I had gotten an opportunity, and I wanted to share that with the people, my friends, and even people I knew around town in Los Angeles. And once again, relating it all back to the artist.
Fine, that's great. I wanted to ask because I had mentioned earlier that NAMM is there's so much,
It's information overload.
yeah, it's it can be overwhelming, and that it in a sense. So when you go over there and you decide to work with Eno or invest in Eno at first, why Eno compared to all the other mini pedal companies at the time?
Well, what it was is the pedal line that I was testing out at their booth, I really felt like it was well made. And even though there was a lot of other pedal companies, the tones and sounds were really good. And there was one pedal in particular, was a distortion pedal I really liked. It was a red one, which we rebranded kind of, and it's now online as the Chicken Head. The Chicken Head distortion pedal. And it had a really great sound, and the company, and also I could tell, I could tell that they needed help, in that sense. Not that there was anything wrong with that, but what I always did was I would always just try to do the best job that I could. And in doing that, and not get upset about little things and this and that, always realize the big picture of what we're trying to accomplish. That's a hard thing for a lot of people to realize, especially when you have to put your ego aside. A lot of people are so attached to their ego, and that's a difficult thing. It's very hard to unattach yourself from your ego. But when your ego's involved and things like that, you start thinking on your own personal level when it's really about the bigger picture. So sometimes you got to compromise or make those things. It's really hard to find good work, good help, good people. It's really difficult. And when the companies that are doing really well now recognize this. You'll hear about companies that have like in-house gyms, in-house bars, in-house everything. They'll have lunch. I've worked at companies where they bring lunch in every day. And the reason they do this is because they realize they took a lot of time hiring these people. They want to keep these people, and they want these people to be happy. The reason is they realize their company is dependent not on them, it's dependent on the people that work for the company. I've worked for companies where the bosses have been terrible, rude, and you can't wait to quit and get out of there. And then other companies where they take care of their employees, and they really take care of those people. And any good company knows it's hard to find good people. So when they get a good person, they know they want to keep that person around as long as possible. And that's why you'll see companies like big companies like Yahoo and things like this, where they will really, really take special care of their employees. They do not want them to leave, and especially go work for the competition, after they've learned all their secrets and learned all their things. I mean, I'm going all over the place, but
I love it.
My point was to say, work hard. For me, coming up into Eno, it wasn't a thing where I asked them, hey, do this for me. I was trying to do things for them. I was trying to help them, and in a sense, they could see that. And now it's become, I feel very much like family with the people at the company. I really regard them as family, as much as that. The worst thing I could do is you don't want to let family down, let people down. So I really and they really, I think they think of me the same way, and it's a really heartwarming situation to have that kind of relationship with some people. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I can definitely tell. I was a guest for one of your Zoom sessions, and we were Zooming with Jenny and I guess someone else from the company, and you're like, hey, I'll see you later for your guitar lesson, and I just thought that was so touching and so awesome, and that's what it's all about. I had touched about this with other guests on the podcast, is that as I've gotten older, it's really about community, because when you start and you take music business classes, the professors and other people are like, network to get to where you need to go, and now I just see it as like, build a community and just genuinely like doing what like helping other people that you're interested in, and without having any expectations of them doing something for you, and supporting each other, going to each other's shows, or it's even as simple as just sharing someone's Facebook post as well onto yours.
The point of life is you're going to get back what you put out. There's an old saying, if you smile into the mirror smiles back at you. And if you frown into the mirror frowns back at you. So it's really true. You really, people, and especially with social media and how things are online, I don't want to make the word sound bad, but being manipulated a little bit, they're giving you what you ask for. So if you're an angry person, you're going to get angry things back. If you're a political person, you'll get politics back. If whatever you put out and search for and this and that, it starts showing you what you want. So in that sense, it's the same as the mirror thing. If you put out happy vibes and happy this, that's what you'll get back. And really, like, back to what you were just saying, life is about people and community and friends, and that's what you're gonna remember or be remembered for. And there's even been some studies and this and that prove it. It's not about your job and this and that. Those are things that are just helping you get through life. But your life is really based around the people you surround yourself with. You'll hear people who have all the money in the world. It's not going to make a difference if they're lonely and have nothing to do with it. It's pointless. Life is about people. And that, you see many movies about isolation and things like that. That's why it's interesting what we're going through right now. I mean, I go to the supermarket now and I'm just happy to be out. It's our only time we're allowed to like go do things, right? So I'm like in my little mask, happy and hi everybody, and so happy. I see people being much more polite these days, respectful, and so I'm hoping that continues. But it's about community, people. I really believe that at the end of the day, and these other things are great. There are can be our passions as well, and we should definitely chase passions and this and that, but we want to share them with people,
Yeah, and speaking of chasing passions, there the first season of this podcast, the theme is Voyager, and I'm finding from talking to people that they are either immigrants or transplants from the other side of the country, and so that when you told me that you were from Pennsylvania and you came to California with $100 in your pocket. I just thought that was so amazing because our previous guest, Richard, he did the same thing from Maryland, and he didn't have things set for him, waiting for him when he came, and so I just it's kind of like California or bust kind of a thing. Since now that you've had all this experience working with companies, being a manager, I know you talk about being a good person and community, but putting it in context for our audience of musicians, how do you present yourself professionally?
When you see Joe Bonamassa, I've seen him out in public. He's come to a couple of things out here. When you see Joe Bonamassa on stage, that guy he dresses. He's good. He knows that he's got to dress up and look good and put on the glasses and wear the hat and the suit and look really nice. So, and then when you see him out and about, he doesn't, obviously so he makes a point to put on a show. I always said you need to put on a show. If you want to be something different and stand out, you got to work at that. You got to put on a show. And those are the people that are successful. They may not even be the most talented people, but they know how to put on a show. Prince and all our heroes, Michael Jackson, all those guys, Elvis, all of those guys, they were unique because they knew how to put on a show. At some point, they had to up their game. They couldn't just go out and be the same thing. Even in bands now, like the Foo Fighters, I saw an interview with a conversation with the drummer where he's talking to Dave Grohl, saying, "Hey man, we're a real band. We got our," because when they did it, they initially did it as a kind of joke. That's why the band's called the Foo Fighters. It was a joke name, in a sense. And they used to do Mentos commercials, and that was their videos. Mm-hmm. And at some point, you if you watch the growth of them, they turned into a legitimate hard rock band, doing legitimate rock videos. You can see it in the earlier stages. They were just goofing off, having fun, which is great. But at some point, they said, "Man, we got a really thing going here, like a real opportunity. We're very fortunate to have gotten this far. Aside from everything else, we need to really act professionally, do this in the right way." So that, and you see it. And they still had fun, they still goof off, and they still do that stuff, but you see that. So I would say, in that regard, it's be professional and look the part, and dress for success. Those are all not just bullshit sayings. Those are real things, That's it. And I attribute that. When I would show up at the NAMM things, I would put on my clothes and my little suits and my hat. These are all just, I don't sit around the house in this stuff, This is just part of how how I would like to present myself.
Yeah, we've Zoomed with each other on brainstorming things in our pajamas, so we know that we can't dress up all the time.
Yeah, I was telling somebody the other day they're getting so good with facial things now. They're gonna have, and I think I've seen this in movies, but they are gonna have a thing where they'll put you in your whole get up automatically, like they'll change, when you go on the phones and things like that, they'll have that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, no, the technology and the what do you call it, like the makeup cameras and the smoothing out of your face, it's people are using that a lot.
Yeah, they're doing it. It's
I mean, that's even on Zoom, so I think it's called like smoothing or something.
It's called it's something like Look Better. I use it. I have it on right now.
Hey, I mean, it's a tool, so
I'm actually a 90-year-old man right here.
So yeah, I mean, this topic of being a professional and looking like a professional as an artist, even though there's a tendency for artists to just be like, I want to do my own thing, I want to be free, but you have to, no matter what genre or where you're from or what your image is, there is a certain standard of showmanship you need to present for yourself.
The days of being lazy, I want to say kind of like Kurt Cobain kind of stylish. You know, he was shabby chic kind of thing because,
Yeah.
you know, he became a rock star without even wanting to. That's because management and record companies and things like that saw, you know, saw something, or something was found. They saw something, and they knew that they could market that, and that's why he wasn't thinking, I'm going to market myself as this guy. It was just like they saw that the industry needed a change and this and that. Nowadays, you're not going to get, a lot of people are going about it on their own. You're not going to get management, a company like this, to just find you in your bedroom. You know, nowadays it's numbers, likes, things like that. It is a bit of a popularity contest. You're just, and most people, the people I talk to have had record deals now don't even want record deals because they realize that now they can do a lot better on their own. They have their own audience. They can get their own fans. They can do that. They can manage it themselves. And if they do come across like that, it's on purpose. If you see somebody coming across like that who's got a fan base, he knows that that's a popular thing and that's his thing. But at the same time, behind the scenes, he's either got a crew working for him, or he's very intelligent, and he's got people making it look like it's easy, you know. When, you know,
Yeah.
as we all know now that we're getting more into video and shooting, we talked about this just before the show. It's not easy at all. It's difficult to do this and open yourself up and be on camera and not worry about what people think. It's a very, very dangerous place. And another thing I can recommend to people is you just gotta forge ahead. There, you know, we talk about depression and things like that, and a lot of times it's just like putting it behind you and having almost a delusional thoughts of grandeur, you know, even when you're not, and like saying doesn't matter. Some days I just go, just get up and do it. Just don't even think about it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, you start getting down. There's so much. Being a musician is probably the hardest thing in anything like that. It's so much easier to go to a job, have the boss tell you what to do that all day. I'd rather go paint this building than do what I'm doing, because at least I can look at it and go, well, that's done. It looks great. I'm happy. You're happy. We're happy. Yes, you feel really good about it. You know, being a musician has its lots of self-doubt, lots of scary days. You know, like I said, self-doubt is a big one. And so those things. But you have to keep your blinders on, realize what you want, and keep going for it. My daughter's growing up now, and I'm trying to convey that to her so that she doesn't get off path, because it's real easy for people to convince you you're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that. You know, get off your path, get on my path. What they're really saying is get on the path of everybody else, get on my path, or get on another path. You know.
Yeah. That's interesting that you said that. It's you know, when I was younger in high school, speaking of paths and people wanting to kind of steer you and impose kind of like their will and beliefs on you, I knew very young that I wanted to do music. And that, you know, maybe later on in life when I like needed, you know, to pay rent, I, you know, got some other non-music related part-time jobs. But you know, in high school, I just, you know, didn't care about building a career. I was like, okay, I'm going to do something with music. And a very good friend of mine who was so well-meaning was like, well, you need a fallback. You need to study something. You need a fallback. I mean, I eventually got a degree and stuff, but I knew, like, even at a young age, like, that was BS for me. You know, like, I just, like, why bother? Just put all your energies into what you really want to do. So that's interesting that you mentioned, you know, just kind of staying on the path. Yeah.
A lot of people use the fallback, I want to say, excuse or thing, and I'm not sure if that's, you know, 100%. You know, obviously we need to work and we need to get things, but you need to make money somehow, and if you can do it with your music, that's great. A lot of the times the shortcomings of that is, instead of saying you need a fallback, when people used to come to me with their kids and go, my kid wants to be a musician, he's really good on guitar and this and that, I always would say to them, they say, what class should he take? You know, should he take music theory? Should he take this or that, or jazz, improv, and blah, blah, blah. So I would always tell them he should take a business class, just a general business class, and have an understanding of how money works and how businesses work and marketing and things like that. Because there's a lot of great musicians. It's not a big deal. It's really not, in this world. There's not. It is. Does he understand how to generate money with that and how to turn that into something else, and bring it, turn it around. When I was doing one of the trade shows back in my songwriting days, these kids came up to the booth, and they were, passing out this and that, and they're very open about what they did. Basically, they ran their band like a business, and that's what bands end up doing. Aerosmith now runs their band like a business, where in the beginning they broke up and had arguments and that, and they realized, man, we got a money-making opportunity. We need to really just realize this is a business, it's a product. So this band did this, and these are younger kids, and what they did is every year they would borrow money from their family and friends and this and that, and they had contracts with everybody to pay the money back with a percentage. They'd pay these people back with a percentage, because the bank wasn't going to give them a loan, and this and that. And when they would take that money and they would use that for their record production. They'd go record a record, and then to support that record, they would set up a tour each year and tour around the country, Nice. And they did this every year. So they're a growing business, and maybe their first record, their songwriting might have been okay and this and that. And that's typical. Maybe the presentation wasn't as great and this and that. But by the second record, they have learned from the mistakes done on the first record. So the second record would be better, and the third record would be better. And then they would, each time that they went to borrow money, they could possibly borrow even more money to make even better things. So they really ran their band, and it's like such a simple thing. They put it on a calendar. They had dates set. They had to have this and that finished. They probably had very strict, when you go to a job, they don't let you drink at the job, and that the results come from work ethic and discipline.
Yeah.
Very important. And I actually wish I had more discipline when I was younger, because I'm all over the place. So I know that that's a factual thing. So.
Yeah, wow, you brought up so many great points, and you know, uh, kind of what was it? Oh yeah, when you said you just like hunkered down, you went back to the basics and got books and just started reading. Also, in addition to knowing how to run yourself or your art as a business, I think you talked about this off camera before, that it's equally important to know how to write and communicate and write about yourself, because I told you this story how I used to do A&R for this new music satellite radio company, and we needed to debut the station with artists, and we would have artist pages, and then I just a lot of musicians had their music and they played shows, and so it was easy for them to just send me their MP3s or whatnot. And but then for their artist page, like some of them like didn't have a professional photo or a bio, and then I would keep asking them, hey, can you send that bio? And they're like, okay, I'll send it, and they never get around to it. And I'm like, well, geez, they weren't flaky in terms of sending their other materials. There might be something going on, and then I had like these deadlines to meet, and I was like, you know what, I saw you live, you guys are great, if you don't mind, I'll just write this paragraph, and stick it on the website. And then they didn't care. And so I did that, and then lo and behold, later on I found out they just took what I wrote and they just added it to their like MySpace. At the time we had MySpace. Yeah. They added it to their MySpace band profile. And then I was like, well, I don't care. I'm not trying to be a writer, and I don't care about the ownership of it. But I was just, many instances like that. And then another musician friend, when I asked for a professional photo, then he couldn't find one. I had to go find one, but he sends me a photo with him and his cat. Yeah. Oh, and so yeah, I mean, it's very time. Yeah, and it's just like it's kind of, I don't, I think our band presents itself professionally, but it's kind of shocking to see how many talented musicians are out there. If anyone's musician who's listening, like, please, like, put a few words together about your art and what you do.
I
Yeah.
was I was going through this thing where I was really down on myself for this similar thing, and we might have talked about this too. And it's one of the things that I appreciate from Jenny very much, from X Gear, and how she helps me is that some of the creative people lack, and this is something I saw. There's not Jordan Peterson is a psychologist, and
Hmm.
he breaks down people and their characteristics and what they do, and what one of the conversations he was having is that right brain. I think it's right brain. The creative side is right brain, I believe. That they don't organize things well, or this that they're all over the place basically. They're always coming up with ideas and this and that, and then your more organized left brain people are the ones who basically take this cluttered mess and organize it into a thing that can actually be put out to the rest of the world, kind of thing. It's an interesting thing, and you need both of those things to be like an artist or be creative or any company, anything that has anything to do with a public thing. But these people, like, they can't write their own bios, they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't organize themselves enough to even put those thoughts into it. They need, that's why management and things like that were very popular, because a manager would see, you guys need this, you guys need that, let's get this on a calendar, let's get this worked out, we need to deliver these deliverables. They call them deliverables, which would be your bio and things like that, and assets. They're called assets, the images of
Yeah.
you on stage and this and that. We need all these things by February so and so, and then we're going to put it out, and this is where it's going to go. It's a plan. So a lot of creative people, they're all over the place. They don't plan things very well, and they're just about making the music, and they think that's it. It's really difficult for them to do that, and that's why they need somebody. But most times they won't find that, because when you don't have some of that structuring in place even nowadays at a low level, you're not going to get to that level where someone's going to say, "Hey, I want to take on your problems." That's basically a manager's taking on your problems and your functionalness in order to gain something from it, because they know that at the end of the day they're going to get a return on what work they do for you. A good manager will. They'll have a contract and this and that and so on and so forth. And their job is to hopefully keep you together long enough, keep your ego in check long enough to get there. So what do we do when we erase that management? Because nowadays there's no such thing as a manager. It's very hard to find. You'd have to go to a lot bigger levels, so what do? You have to do that for yourself. You have to put on another hat. Say, today I'm going to do the stuff I need to do to get my career going. You know, it's an interesting balance.
Yeah, and especially nowadays, you mentioned TikTok. People are switching hats, like you say. They have the artistic side, and they have to learn how to have this business side, and accept social media as a tool instead of shying away from it. And with that said, I know that X Gear is looking for someone who's who makes content, who can represent the company. And we were brainstorming about it the other day. And you didn't, I really love this. And it kind of speaks volumes about who you are as a person. You are trying to get away from the term that has some stigma, influencer. If you
Yeah.
can, if you don't mind just talking about why you know you don't like that term, or and why instead you're looking for a media personality for the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah, I wanted it to be more of a media personality idea, and that's the kind of an old phrase or maybe an old term for a newscaster or whatever it is. Someone who's wants to be in the media, who has personality, who's will attract people, and it's what we're calling influencers now. And the idea behind influencers is that they influence people to do things. And it's once again, it's almost an ego word, where you're calling somebody, oh, you're an influencer, like you have some kind of power, this and that. And my reasoning for not wanting to directly go that route is of the ego situation. I want to take someone on who maybe someday has immediate personality, not as a person who's out to make money just on the idea of that, hey, if I like this, people will like it. I want someone who's enjoying life and just a personality who's just got some zest to them and enjoyable. And I think the term influencer is starting to get like a negative kind of vibe to it. And I even think influencers are moving away from the influencer stigma that might be causing, and they're turning into media personalities. An inside little thing, we look for influencers. We've been putting out things for influencers, and I reached out to a very popular influencer, and what I got back was a manager of all things, his agent. I got an agent. So I've been talking to this agent, and it's very interesting, and I almost feel so bad for his clients, because when you have an agent is, some of them are looking out for their own interests more than they are the clients, and I kind of feel that way. And I go to the channels to look at these influencers, and what I'm seeing now is that they're not as much on the product thing as much as they are on the entertainment factor of an episode. It's less about products and this and that, but more about themselves and them. Like they've come to the understanding that they are the thing that is most important, not the products, not the things. That's why I appreciate some people who you could call influencers like Pete Thorne, because I never get the sense that his ego is taking over, where he thinks like, hey, you're come to see me, not this or that, but at the same time, that's why he has such a dedicated, loyal audience too. One of the things I always said about NAMM that I always found interesting is there was two types of crowds at NAMM that would come to the NAMM convention. There was the business crowd, and then there was the party crowd. The party crowd would show up around 2 o'clock to go to NAMM, and then they'd look for the after party, and then they'd party, and then they never made not one decent business connection. They drank a lot and had a lot of parties and had fun, but the guys who were serious were there at like 9 in the morning when it was opening up, and attending all the things, and attending the seminars and going to the booths. They would have it all scheduled out. Those were the serious guys. So which one are you? You got to ask yourself, which one am I? Am I really serious, or am I just here? We have what we call weekend warriors. They put together bands and they go out on the weekends and play, and they have a great time, and they drink a lot, and it's a blast. But which one are you? Are you the weekend warrior, or are you the guy that's going to be there Monday morning at 9 o'clock? You have to ask yourself. and both of those are fine, by the way. There's nothing wrong with either of those. They're exactly fine. If that's what you want, then that's cool. If you're a weekend warrior and you got a job that pays you well, that's great. God bless you. I'm glad you're there to hang out with on the weekends and stuff. There's nothing wrong with either of them. It's just you have to be real with yourself about what you want and what you want to accomplish. So I think that's a thing too.
Yeah, that's a good point that you're mentioning. You got to be real with what you want and what you want to accomplish, and that's kind of getting to the heart of someone's intentions, because you mentioned earlier you wanted to find a social media personality or a media personality who genuinely likes the pedals. And when I was so fortunate to have endorsed to endorse the Extreme Series line, you're like, okay, why don't you pick out a board, and I was just like, I have this thing about not wasting other people's products or things they work hard on, and so I feel like I just only chose the few things I would actually see myself using within my band. And so I had in a previous session in a different episode with Richard Pariser, we were talking about endorsements, and that I was mentioning that, companies or artist relations people can see from miles away if you're just trying to get free shit, and it's like, and a lot of new artists or new musicians, beginning musicians, are like, yeah, I want to get signed and get an endorsement deal. No, it doesn't work that way. You endorse the products, and you do that through certain qualifications, but at the end of the day, like, you should genuinely have been or will be using those products, because then it comes across insincere, and that's why the influencer label can be is being stigmatized as being negative, because now you don't know if that person's being paid to say something or if they genuinely like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
product.
One of the things when we went with Pete Thorne was, which I was happy about, is that one of his things was, priorities was that he has to genuinely like a product to do a demo. He doesn't need the money, so it's not like he's doing it for the money or this or that. And that was when he did finally do our demo, which was a great demo, Pete Thorne's demo of the Red Fury. It's this guy on the
Yeah, I
end
saw
here.
it. Yeah.
When he finally did do it, it came out great, and it shows. You know, he's a great player, and he wrote an amazing song for it, and that genuinely, you know, that shows that he's genuine, and that comes across. You can really, you watch him and you think like, wow, this guy is really genuine. He's not. He could just be like, yeah, I'll take your money, you know, and I'll do this and do that, and I'm done with it, you know. He doesn't have to do that. Trust me, he's got, you know, a lot of stuff. And even with and with Greg Howe, when he did his video, it's the same sort of similar situation, where, you know, you just you want that in people. I don't want to. I don't want people who, I've had people approach me because they just want, they think like they're so great and they're this and that I should just give them whatever they want, and then, you know, I just see it as it's going to be problems later. It's always going to be problems, you know, and I want people who really like the products to use them, and so it's never a concern. And it's just, you know, people change too over time, and so sometimes they might use it one day and not another. But and that's the difference between, like, that's different than sending it to someone and saying, hey, I want you to demo this. Check it out and let me know what you think. You know, that's a different thing too. But when
Yeah.
we look at artists, and I look at somebody I want to work with on a long-term basis, I want them to say, oh man, I really dig what you're trying to do and we like it, because otherwise what are we doing? You know, we're just wasting each other's time. And if they're just there just to collect a paycheck, then I don't want to have to think for everybody. One of the things when you're hiring people too is, if you have to do everything for them all the time and tell them where to go and what to do and this, it's that person's only as good as what you decide they can do. They need to think for themselves, and that goes back to the earlier conversation about hiring good people. You know, that are self-thinkers. Like, if that's not working, why would you keep doing it? You know, a lot of companies hire people like that, and that's the downfall of them. And they're getting better at it. Society's getting better at training people, testing people, and this, and especially big corporations, because they're not able to watch everybody all the time. So,
Yeah.
but that's just on a bigger level, you know.
Yeah, speaking of finding people that genuinely like the products, and who like the products, I recently got a chance to mess around with the Gritman Overdrive.
Yeah.
I was so happy I was able to, get that one and mess around with it. I mean, I did get to hear how great it sounds, and I just love like the range of tones that it came with. Do you want to talk about any or all of the pedals that you have with you right there?
Sure.
For our audience.
One of the things that's when I was building these pedals, very much into overdrive distortion pedals, and I'm a kind of a rock player, so a lot of these pedals embody that in some way, and some different time in rock place or something like that. So
Yeah.
The current pedals we have up here, some of the unique things about the pedals that make them different than other pedals is you can see. Let me see if I can turn down the lights a little bit. I have a light thing.
Yeah, and then for our listeners who are not able to watch the video at the moment, Paul has with him this amazing metal plate of pedals on it that are magnetically attached, and Yeah, it's the pedal board, and the illuminated series, that line of guitar stomp boxes, pedals, the knobs are illuminated, and they're different colors, respective to, which pedal it is.
When we designed the pedals, we
Yeah.
came up with basic color things. Actually, my first idea was, and it's interesting because another company recently did something similar, but was just to have them all be black pedals. And then as I got more involved, I was like, you know what, maybe we should add some color. So
Yeah.
it's really simple colors. Like for the Red Fury, it's a red pedal, and it has red knobs, control knobs that illuminate, that light up. So that's where we came up with the illuminated series kind of concept. And those lights are red. So kept the colors very, very conformed. Usually in design elements and design things, you don't want to step outside of 3 or more colors because then it starts to look cluttered. This is just like
Yeah.
some design concepts. So we have the font, that's a tall font on there, and just the name of the pedal, for those of you who can't see it. It's basically in a black metal box, and the illuminated lights controls on the top of it. Each of the colors are simple. So for the Red Fury, which is like a distortion pedal, reminiscent of like classic rock, Eddie Van Halen, I like to think of it. It's a great pedal. I really love the sound of it. That's our red one with the red lights. And then we did the Crush Overdrive, spelled with a KRUSH. And our idea was that you would crush the competition with this one. This one has a more modern kind of overdriven tone. It also has a tight knob, or what we call it, a meat knob that tightens up the bottom end of it and gives it more chunk and things like that. That's a more modern Phil X, if you know who he is, kind of rock and roll pedal. And that's black. And then with the lights, we went with white to contradict the black. We couldn't do black lights, so it didn't work. Then we have like the Soul 5, which is kind of your soulful pedal, jazzy, very popular pedal. It's a little more expensive than the other ones, but because it has a very unique sound. And Greg Howe took a liking to that pedal and uses that pedal and has it on his pedal board. And that one we did purple in reflection of like Jimi Hendrix and Prince and those kinds of artists. It's wanted to embody that. So we did like a kind of a dulled down purple color, and the lights on that are purple as well. Once again, keeping colors really simple. When you step on it, your controls will glow light. Another thing about the Illuminate series I want to mention is that each of the foot stomp buttons has an illuminated disc around it as well that is on all the time. So even when the pedal's not activated, you're able to see that. And the idea was that you would be on a dark stage. I've had shows where I've been on a dark stage, and before they announce the band, they usually have the house lights and things turned down. You can't see your pedals and which ones are on and this and that. And I use that as like a beacon for my pedal board. So then moving down the line, we have the Gritman Overdrive, which is kind of a gritty, bluesier kind of tone. And we went with a gray front and yellow, because we're starting to run out of colors now. As far as we only had so many colors we could do with the lights. There's actually a limit to it. So, and it turned out looking beautiful for those who can't see it. I really love the contrast of the gray and the yellow on here, and you can see it here. I'm clicking on it. It turns on and off. And then we developed a maximum metal. It's called Max Metal Distortion. And this one, I went back with the black, but we did try to do some sort of design on here. So it's got kind of like a black and blue kind of vibe on the front of the pedal board, because we'd already had a black pedal, so we needed to do something a little bit. And then for this Max Metal, we gave it red buttons, so to enforce kind of like the idea of, a lot of people like to associate the metal music with, demon music or some kind of aggressive thing like that. Each of the pedals has little caps that cover up the knobs, and if you wanted to, you could take those off and just have the knobs themselves. They're great covers. And even those, we went into these, went back and forth. We were originally going to do like just white ones that covered it, that would be see-through, but I went and picked these ones where you can sort of see the pedal through. It looks really nice on there. And we also include this this custom X Gear protector for the main gain knobs on each of the pedals. Yeah, we went to we tried to look at every aspect of the pedal. They come in a nice hard case. Even the back sides of the pedal, it says, it might be hard to see from this distance, but it says X gear, make some noise. Our motto became make some noise, which is basically be heard, make yourself heard and be loud and be proud, make some noise. And with these pedals, we went back and forth. The shape is different. Everything is different. There's no pedals like this on the market. And they're analog pedals. And these took a lot of time and effort. It took a good 2 years almost to get all of them completed and out there. The ones
if you don't mind me asking, what is the process of I know all companies are different, and Eno and X Gear are going to be different than other pedal companies, but I mean, what was your process? Because I know Jenny's in China, and I'm assuming a lot of Zoom meetings, but how many times did you have to maybe go to China to kind of see things get done?
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode, China.
Okay.
I've been to China twice now, and it's both experiences have been amazing. China is a beautiful place, and I recommend anybody go there. The people were wonderful. I know there's a lot of media controversy going on right now, and that's where you gotta really don't listen to the media. Take it for yourself. They're wonderful, beautiful people, and I consider them family at this point. So yeah, I got to do that 2 times, and the process of I got to go to see the factory and meet the people, and literally like people putting stuff on there and putting the pedals together and things like that. They don't just do these; they do other products as well. And I got I actually, when I was there, they gave me a desk. I was and a computer. I was working there and helping for those 3 weeks that I was there. And we did a couple trade shows ourselves when I was there, and we flew Greg. We helped fly Greg Howe out. He performed at some of the things in China. He had a wonderful time. He got the star treatment through the other resources and that he had used too. And it was one great experience. So the process of doing the pedals for us, it's a lot of. We're a global world now. We can have conversations. I can have the same meeting with someone in China and talk to them just like I'm talking to you now. It's not even a big deal anymore. I'll do that on a weekly basis, and it used to be impossible to do that. There's the story of, I think it's Nintendo, how that all came to be. The guy had to fly out there and basically be a man in a town he couldn't even speak the language. But it's a lot easier. So we're sending files back and forth, and when it came to designing these pedals, I basically laid out the designs. And we tampered with some sounds, started with some place, but then moved forward to build our own unique kind of sounds. And design-wise, I was sending them Photoshop files that I designed and things like that. Because with my web design jobs and my things like that, I became really good at Photoshop and create and art. And I gained a little knowledge about artistry and design concepts. So I helped with the designs of that and this and that, and we came out with a really good looking, nice product. And they're magnetic as well. One of the things, for those you can't see, I actually have some of these sticking to the board. The board itself is a metal board, and the pedals stick to it, so you don't need Velcro. You just drop the pedal board on the floor, and you don't need Velcro to attach them and make them stay down there. So that's a really nice thing. The pedal board is custom made with handles on the side and a logo on the front. We have a tuner pedal up here, and I forgot to mention, we also have a analog delay that has some really cool features on here. You can see about that stuff online and things like that, and check out webinars or things like that.
They look so beautiful, and I can attest that at least with the Gritman, that pedal sounds great. And so
that's a good one.
I mean, even from like the earlier line, the Extreme series, those pedals were really good. So is there another line in the future, or more pedals, or what's next?
We have a bass line of pedals we're working on, and basically what this is going to be is similar concepts to this, but a much different look. And it's a line of bass pedals that you could use for a gig. the concept is going to be there'll be about boxes about this square, right? A little bit bigger about that, and they're also to talk. What we're having is they would be like magnetic as well. More than this, you would carry them in a bag that would be almost like a building shaped, but a bag. Like imagine a building, like that shape, but a bag that would carry from the top. Like if you were to pick a building, the Empire State Building, whatever, you pick it up, it's square like that. It's long, and the different sections of the bag would hold the different pedals. And when you do is when you have a bass player would have a gig, he'd go, oh, I have this gig, I know I'm going to need these 4 pedals. So he'd pull them out and they would just snap together, magnetized. They would snap with the magnets, and that would the main pedal would be a power and tuner supply to power the other pedals, and then they all snap together in the line, and then you would basically that would be your whole gig. So if I needed 3 pedals just for that night, because I know it's a certain kind of a blues gig or a funk gig, and I know that these are the pedals I'm going to use, we're not going to go into any other kinds of music, I would just grab those 3 pedals and drop them on the floor, they snap together, and then just connect them with a cable, and then you're good to go.
There's so much to explore, so much to learn, and
and
if you wouldn't mind, people are gonna want to check this out. Of course, I'll leave links in the description and in the podcast notes. But where can people find you and X Gear? Do you mind rattling off your social media addresses and handles?
Sure. The easiest way is on xgear.com, which is ex-gear.com. On there, you can leave us an email. You can ask questions. And I actually have a chat bot on there at the bottom of the screen, which I keep it live all the time. And when I see a message come through, I'll start talking right away. So that's the easiest way. I can talk to you right away. We also do things on Amazon Live. And if anybody would like to go up and hit the follow button there, you might have to go through the website to get there. But if you hit the alerts, you'll get alert shows. And we're trying to build that audience as well, because you get more features as the audience builds.
Ooh,
and we have, your typical Facebook page, X Gear with a Facebook, spelled the same way. Sometimes you might need to remove the dash if you have an issue. And Instagram is xgear1. We're on there. And TikTok, we were even on TikTok. We have an X Gear channel there. So we hit all the social media things and all the other spots. I'm trying to think. YouTube channel, of course. We have a YouTube channel. It's called X Gear. And and we welcome anybody, comes along once, who's interested, who has the sincerity and really wants to get involved. I'm all for it, and that's how you and I met, and we're still friends all these years later, and still working and doing things together. And I'm all game for that. And I love to talk, as you kind of might have noticed. So I don't mind talking, and I feel like I have good advice and business advice and things like that. I'm always open to talk. This was great today, talking to you about these things.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable and open and honest, because for the people listening, the things that you've mentioned are very, very valuable, at least to me as well. And because starting out, it's not just about the networking, the technical stuff. It's about self-growth, relinquishing that self-doubt.
The sad part about it is that you figure it out when it's too late. That's the hard part, because you realize, you figure it out when time isn't on your side anymore about it, what it really is important. And the people that have figured it out, they've made successes of themselves at younger ages and things like that. But it's really about time has no relevance in life. And anybody who knows anything knows that's true. You can look at a thing and time really is irrelevant. So the time is now, and people need to focus on themselves and what they want and how they can help other people. And it's not about helping yourself, it's really about helping other people. Those are the ones that are going to make an impact on the world and be the happiest in the end. If you're constantly just doing things for yourself, you're going to wind up very unhappy in the end. You're not going to have anybody around you that you can trust. that you can lean on and hold on to, So it's really about people and your own personal goals and realizing what you want, what your passion. Find your passion, and then that's what you go after. Because what you'll find is you'll find your passion, and maybe you go off and do something else, pay your bills, and think you're doing the right thing. At the end of the day, music never left me, as far as that's concerned. It never said, "Oh, I'm going to give up on you," and I never stopped playing guitar. I never even when I had to take the job and we had a baby and we had to get on with life. I had to make sure I could be a provider. Music was always still somewhere in the background. If your life ends up being something you're not happy with, that's completely 100% your fault. When you realize that and you take accountability like that, then all the successes are your fault as well. So you can take accountability for everything, and you should, if you think like that, have less failures. So anyway, I can go on and on and on and on.
Oh, I know. You know what? People after this, assuming we're gonna have some pretty good viewership, they're gonna want to meet you,
nice.
Apart from your gear and X gear. So if we're so fortunate to have NAMM next year, is X gear gonna be at NAMM?
Yes, we're gonna be at NAMM next year.
Okay.
Back in full force, hopefully with new lines, new line of pedals, or at least some prototypes in play, and we're gonna keep going. I've decided, I want to stay with this as long as we can stay with it, and do it as long as possible, and so next year, yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, on that note, I just want to thank you so much for coming on our podcast. You're just excellent as usual.
Thank you.
Now it's time for a visit from Madam Pepe.
Welcome to Tarot Time. You can call to me, Madam Pepe, and I am in this place to show you the good fortunes of our guests. What I do, I summon the informations, combine with cards, and so you and our guests can receive learnings. Okay, let's go. Okay, I'm going to shuffle. What do we have here? Okay, we are finding intuitions for Paul Killion. But I want to call him King Killion. It sounds very good, okay? Paul King Killion, what do we have for you, okay? Oh, the Three of Wands. Okay, very, very good. This is a very good card. Well, what is that to mean? What I am looking at is a man with his back turned to us. And it's not a bad thing, because what he is doing is he has his hand planted on a stable wand, and the other two wands are also in the ground too. He is on a hill overlooking the harbor. Okay, so it is representing commerce, economy, business. And so the great thing is that Paul actually we went to China twice for a business venture, for discovery, for adventure, and to create a product. So I very much like this card for you, Paul. Very little people have such talent for using their musical skills and creating a high quality product. So Paul, if you're listening, what I want to suggest is that you keep going. You never give up. You are almost there, achieving everything your heart desires. Allocate your energy. Ask for help when you need it. And you will be able to reap the benefits of your hard work and reach prosperity. Okay, that's it. I enjoy so much to bring good news and fortunes. Thank you so much for visiting Madam Pepe. Okay, no more. That's it. See you soon. Bye now.
ex-gear.com.
Now it's time for our after show. This is where my bandmate Ybra and I talk about the recent episode or any other random happenings in our band. All right. Welcome to the Pepe and Ybra after show. Those bands, Soundgarden back in the day and Pearl Jam, speaking of style, now I'm thinking about aesthetics. They had the long hair. And did you have the long hair at the same time?
That's when I had super long hair and I was this skinny. I think I weighed $130, like that.
Yeah. I mean, how important was image back then?
Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, let's put it like this. It never even got to your plane if the image wasn't there. So the hair had to be long. You could, like the way I have it now, that wouldn't fly. Had to be at least, like down to here. Mine back then, you saw the pic was down to here. And my sides were like, shoo. It was like a girl's hair.
Yeah.
Okay. And you had to be skinny. And I was able to do it then, so I was very skinny. And you couldn't have, at that time, no facial other than long sideburns were in. No beard, no mustache.
Huh, interesting.
None of that. No. And if they saw you with that, go home.
Interesting.
Literally,
Wait, are we
go
talking
home.
about late 80s or 90s?
Shit.
'Cause
That was a long time ago, man.
I think you're thinking about 80s.
That's when well, just think of bands that had the super long hair and the pretty boy look and no facial hair, whatever that was. Okay, well, Led Zeppelin, Bonham had a mustache, so it was like had to have been after that.
Maybe things are different with drummers. Do you think?
No, it was just a band thing. So it could have been the 80s that was like the vibe.
Yeah.
Because there was a hippie thing during Black Sabbath, Zeppelin, where they did have beards and facial hair. So I think that came in afterwards. And the funniest story was when I went to back then there was no internet. So I had to drive to Hollywood, or even worse, North Hollywood.
Yeah.
Which is far. I lived here, La Puente. Okay, so I drive to this house, knock on the guy's apartment. He looks at me through the screen. He goes, "You're too short. I'm sorry, but you're not going to."
Oh, now that's just rude.
And I go, "What?" I mean, I'm not a real tall guy, but I'm not a midget. Back then I was like 5'8". I think I shrunk, but,
Oh, jeez.
I was 5'8".
I mean,
I go, "Dude, I'm the drummer. Doesn't matter. What are you going to do about pictures?" I go, if you want, I'll wear high heels. I go, "Let me just come in and play my music." I had my demo tapes,
oh, man.
And he said, "Sorry, man." And I cussed
so
him out. I
stupid.
cussed him out through the door.
Because pictures can be staged in a way where the tallest person could stand further and everyone can kind of,
No, they
be
wanted a
balanced.
band with all tall guys. And there were bands like that.
Yeah, it's
Like,
weird.
I think you said, got to be at least 5'11" or taller.
What?
Yeah.
That's like not even average
They
height.
wanted tall dudes with super long hair and super skinny. The image thing back then was as important as the way you played. So in other words, if you could really play, but your image was screwed up, forget about it. Forget about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
You weren't going to join any bands back then. I could name names, but that wouldn't be cool. But cats I know that were very talented that never had the image, and back then they couldn't get in bands.
Yeah, that's a shame. So back then, this was after your Canada touring days. Did you need to have an image for when you played with Davey London?
No.
So what was that like? Because I know you were doing these dinner sets.
That was once in a while. There were more than the dinner sets. They were just outright plain, regular.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had the really super sore clavicle. And when you're on the road and you're young and your testosterone's going, sometimes I don't even care what the girl looked like because, shut off the lights and do my thing, and it's better than me, doing my thing. So this particular girl I met was really good looking. And it was right before our show. Like I had about an hour. And I met her at the strip club. I was at the strip club having beers. She comes up to me. She put the moves on me. I'm like, I go, "You want to go to my room?" She goes, "Sure. I'd love to do this and that." I go, "But I have this bad shoulder." He goes, I'll do all the work. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's nice.
And I did my thing. I was wearing white pants that night. That girl was so dirty and she had VD, which I didn't know.
Oh.
My white pants were stained that same night with pus.
Whoa.
With pus, I mean brown pus.
Oh.
And the guys in my they go, Abe, what's going on down there? And I go, what do you mean? I didn't even notice right away.
Yeah.
And they're going, what have you done? And I told them, they're like, dude, okay, so she gave me that. And I'd never had that in my life.
Yeah.
And I went to the free clinic. They give you penicillin, but the penicillin didn't work on me because I used to take a lot of it for my acne when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't work on me at that time. Now it will.
Yeah.
But I used to take it a lot it was something the doctor would give me for my acne when I was young. Okay. So it just didn't work on me.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't go away. And kind of embarrassing, but I smelled like a goat, my private.
Oh.
And so I have the broken, the fractured clavicle. I couldn't really do anything. I couldn't even take a shower right. And I'm telling the guys in my band to help me. They're like, nah, man. You know, you got to do the best you can on your own. So I was like the stinkiest guy around.
Damn.
And I had to end up going back after about 3 weeks to another one. Or the same one, either one, and tell them it's not working. They gave me tetracycline or whatever, but girls wanted nothing to do with me at that time.
Now, I'm just curious. How come you didn't notice at first? You know, I mean...
I was very naive, and I just... First of all, when you walk, you don't walk around going like that.
Yeah.
I didn't feel anything.
I mean, you know, when she disrobed, you didn't smell anything or sense anything?
No, because we just did our thing, and we didn't have, like, oral sex. Thank God. Who knows what would have happened to me. Man, that was really a drag because nobody wanted to do nothing. I mean, they could smell me coming and stuff, you know, and it was like...
Yeah, that's insane.
And they would the girls would actually at that time go, ew, you know, like, what is that smell?
Well, I don't understand that smell.
It kept getting worse.
It was stuck to your penis? Like, I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, it was in there.
Okay.
So it kept getting worse. It was rotten, like a rotten smell.
Yeah.
And not until I got the right antibiotics, finally.
Yeah. Well, you got it out of your system. Okay, well, I mean, we got some definitely interesting stories, so that about wraps it up for this after show of Pepe and Ybra. Knowing your STD status is a critical step to stopping STD transmission. If you know you are infected, you can take steps to protect yourself and your partners. Many STDs can be easily diagnosed and treated. If either you or your partner is infected, both of you may need to receive treatment at the same time to avoid getting reinfected. You can find free, fast, and confidential testing near you by going to gettested.cdc.gov. Enter your zip code or city and state and hit search. For more info about HIV/AIDS and STDs, please contact 1-800-CDC-INFO. That's 1-800-232-4636. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and choosing our podcast. It really means a lot to us. On our next episode, we're going to have Jesse Morris, a music law attorney, entrepreneur, and a musician. Jesse talks about famous copyright infringement cases, legal issues artists need to consider for their business, and how he helps artists be less worried so they can be more creative. Please rate and review our podcast. And if you want to keep our podcast, Pepe and Ybra, going, or support our band Glass Spirits, please join our Patreon. For just $5, $3, or even $1 a month, you can help keep us afloat. Our band name, Glass Spirits, is one word, GLASSPIRITS. You can find us on most of the social media platforms under Glass Spirits. The music you hear on this episode is our podcast theme song. It's an original song by our band Glass Spirits called Something Unspoken. You can download Something Unspoken from all major retailers or stream it on Spotify. Now, I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of our song, Something Unspoken. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next time on Pepe and Ybra.